the, the speakers for today's session and the audience who are present for the session. This is yet another initiative from Consultants Consortium of Chennai, where we organize some of these initiatives for the benefit of industry and various other stakeholders. This is our third year since inception, and some of you who have been attending our sessions regularly, you know the kind of initiatives that we do. We do conduct regular programs on this days, which are key milestones and critical milestones at a global level, like World Standards Day and World Accreditation Day, and November Quality Month, and Food Safety Standards Day. And these are all some of the notable days where we conduct regular programs. But in addition to that, we also do regular knowledge sharing initiatives. Our focus is to disseminate knowledge on standards, certifications, and regulations. So today's the session is about, this is in alignment, the theme and the topic is actually designed in alignment with the global theme, which is on Sustainable Development Goals. The World Standards Day, the focus is actually on implementing sustainable development goals globally to ensure, to offer safety and protection to the people and the planet. The focus is actually to protect the planet, the Mother Earth, and also to take care of the health and safety of the people also. So it is a shared vision for a better world is a global theme, and this SDG theme will continue for a few more years, I guess, under this World Standards Day initiative. Today's session is actually the topic that we have chosen is the role of this standards, SDGs, that is the sustainability standards in the global trade, in the international trade. How do this implementing the standards help businesses to go global and to have better global opportunities, and also to seek better, improve the trade and commerce from the country. So today the speakers will touch upon, we do have 3 speakers for today's session. We have Mr. Rijit Sengupta, who is joining us from Center for Responsible Business. So he will be touching upon the role of sustainability standards in international trade. And we also have Mr. Vijay Veeran, who is the Joint Director from Bureau of Indian Standards for the Southern region. He will be presenting to you about the various national and international standards that are available on sustainability for the businesses, for the industry to look at and to use and to implement. We also have our Vice President from CCC, Mr. Ramkumar Sivaraman, who will be sharing his experiences in how implementing some of this sustainability standards have helped businesses, Indian businesses, to go global, or global businesses to tap global opportunities. It's a short session for about 1 hour 30 minutes, and after all these 3 sessions are over, the floor will be open for question and answer sessions. If delegates do have, audience have some doubts in between, we kindly request you all to wait till the Q&A session, jot down your doubts, or you can post your queries in the chat box also. So we will be taking up all the queries, and we will be addressing all these queries. Just for a short introduction about some of you who may not know much about CCC, I'll just run you through a very brief presentation about CCC, just about 3 or 4 slides. Just give me 1 second, please. This is Can you see the screen?
Yes, yes, madam.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we are an association consultants, and we are based at Chennai. The association is created, actually it is a pan-India platform, but however, the focus is more on southern region to strengthen the industry's focus and the stakeholders' interest in management systems across South India. Now, this is about our brief story. As I said, we are about 3 years old, and this was it's a registered association under Societies Act of Tamil Nadu, and we are located at Chennai. And this is a forum for all management system consultants and allied consultants. By and large, all management consultants are covered under our consultants forum. So we do have sector agnostic consultants. Predominantly, most of us cater to the small and mid-sized businesses and across a diverse range of industries, be it product companies or service companies. We also we have been working closely with trade and industry platforms through our knowledge sharing initiatives, where we disseminate the knowledge on wide range of topics on a regular basis. And so we have a GC, and the GC comprises of business consultants with many years of connect with the industry. So the objective of the association is, it is a not-for-profit organization, and the objective is very clear, where our aim is to promote excellence, professional competency, and ethics in the management systems consulting domain. And we also assure and ensure that service of quality and value is imparted to the industry in the management consulting domain. And our regular initiatives are knowledge dissemination, providing ongoing education, learning opportunities, and monitoring mechanisms. And we do have skilled and competent consultants in our forum, and we would like to offer that assurance to the industry that the consultants from this forum do have the necessary skills and the competencies. Again, as I said, the objective is knowledge dissemination to standardize the consulting practices amongst the members of the association. So we do have our monthly meetups and brainstorming sessions. And the focus is to develop, educate, enforce, and administer. We do have a code of conduct which is defined. Generally, we say that consultants do have an undefined code of conduct, but we have defined a professional code of conduct, discipline, and ethics in our association, and the members of the associations abide by the same. So the focus is industry education, from promoting quality as part of our national quality mission or nation building exercise. So this is a small contribution towards a nation building exercise, and we promote various management system standards that are needed for implementation for various businesses across various domains. And probably ours is the representative voice of the management systems consulting community in the country. And the focus is, again, knowledge dissemination related to standards, certifications, accreditations, inspections, regulations, you name it, we do this. We offer a primary membership to management system consultants, and we also offer secondary membership to allied consultants from domains like regulatory consultants, technical consultants, sector specific domain consultants, technology, health and safety, risk management, marketing, branding, HR, you name the consultants, or supply chain management. And we also offer membership, secondary membership to industry bodies and certification bodies, or the laboratories, or accreditation bodies. So we do offer even to the corporate companies. We do have members from the industry. They have taken membership so that their members can they can attend the programs regularly. So the milestones is we are part of this industry platforms. We are also a member of Andhra Chamber of Commerce, which is one of the oldest chambers in South India. And we are also a member of the TIE Chennai, which is an Indus Entrepreneurs Network, which is again a global platform for young entrepreneurs. And we have received a lot of recognition and appreciation from the regulators and national standards body for our continuous work in this space and domain. some initiatives that we have been doing, since our inception, 1920. By the time actually we started it and we became functional, the COVID hit us. We became operational, COVID hit us. But still then, we've utilized that the time and the period to go online, to go digital, and we were doing continuously engagements. So these are some of the initiatives, programs that we have been organizing in the last 2 years. Maybe the last 3-4 months efforts are not captured here, but this is what we have been doing regularly. And so we do have, so far we have reached out to more than 10,000 plus audience through our multiple programs. And we do have a functional website, and maybe we post a lot of information and updates there. And the website has crossed 1 lakh visitors about 2 weeks ago. See, these are all some of the programs that we have been conducting regularly, knowledge sharing, purely knowledge sharing and nothing else. So we do have dreams and aspirations to make our voice heard at the global platform, and then to connect with global audience and to have some global engagements. And our focus is actually to encourage responsible quality certifications in the market. And as stakeholders, even as consultants, we have a huge responsibility to ensure that that responsibility quotient has to be very high in the conformity assessment space. Yes, regularly we do all these initiatives. We do monthly 1 consultants meetup, 1 industry session. And we also educate something to the students, and we are passionate. We are going to colleges and educating students about the standards. Believe it or not, we are also taking sessions for school children on sustainable development goals. We are working with a school in Chennai, and we have initiated our second program also on SDGs, where we are going to the schools and training children on the 17 SDGs. And the children are very smart. The adaptability and their understanding is very good, and we really want to catch them young and then make them understand some of this. These are all the initiatives which we are driving because we are passionate about all this. So we do have a GC team which is very supportive, and it's a very small organization, a skeletal organization. We do have a backend digital support team and admin team who keep offering us a lot of support. So yes, we started in 1920, as we said. We are a COVID organization which was floated just before the COVID, and then this is our 3rd year. So this is in short about CCC for those of you who are not aware of what Consultants Consortium of Chennai is all about. So today we will just move on to our the first session of the day. As I was mentioning, the topic is about the role of sustainability standards in the international trade. So we have our first speaker for today. Yes. So we have Mr. Rijit Sengupta. Mr. Gupta is the Director for Responsible Business. And he is a postgraduate in agricultural sciences. Just a second. And then he's also a PG, he holds a PG diploma in environment management and environmental sciences and management. He has close to more than 2 decades of experience in environmental sciences domain, especially more with reference to trade and regulatory policies in global markets. He had a very long stint in CUTS International. So this is a small introduction about Mr. Sengupta. And so Mr. Gupta will be touching upon the role of sustainability standards in the international, in encouraging international trade. Over to you, Mr. Sengupta. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Dr. Venugopal, and thanks to the organizers for inviting me and for the interface, for the introduction, generous introduction. I have a short presentation, so I'll share my screen. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, please. Yeah. Maybe full screen mode. Yeah, it's clear. Thanks.
Thank you so much. So what I'll do is I'll talk about voluntary sustainability standards and the interface of voluntary sustainability standards on with sustainable international trade. So in doing that, the outline, I'll have to start with a brief introduction about CRB, because perhaps not many of you might be aware of the Center for Responsible Businesses work. Then I'll give a brief background of the current scenario of international trade, international businesses, and global value chains, the risks associated with the expanding international business, cross-jurisdictional engagements on commerce and across various tiers, and highlight the need for voluntary sustainability standards. Provide a brief overview of what voluntary sustainability standards are, and share a few anecdotes of the contribution of voluntary sustainability standards to sustainable trade in India, and finish up with a quick overview of the work that we've been doing in this space. So very, very short overview about who we are. So as an organization, our vision is to see how businesses integrate sustainability into their core. In terms of the thematic areas, we work on these thematic areas, which are, we believe, conduits for businesses and other stakeholders to drive transformation towards sustainable economies and society. And in terms of the industry sectors, we do have some specialization in certain industry sectors, but we are generally industry agnostic because of our specialization on sustainable value chains, so on and so forth. And in terms of what we do, we do action and policy research, do capacity building, also provide some advisory services, and convene a fairly large multi-stakeholder platform based out of our office in Delhi, where we have about 25 staff and associates working with us. Let me start by through this sort of overview about, how international trade and global value chains are getting reorganized. So as you are fairly well aware, global value chains essentially mean the chain which links different actors in value chains across trade and commerce. And there are several reasons why global value chains today are getting reorganized. Some of them, of course, are here provided in terms of the impact of the pandemic. The pandemic really did have an implication on value chains, and we have seen because of the challenges related to movement of goods and services, a number of value chains have gotten reorganized across geographies. Apart from that, there are also reasons related to geopolitics, the intent to reduce carbon footprint. So a number of reasons are there why value chains are getting reorganized. In addition to that, there are also various developments, especially driven by OECD countries, wherein a number of legislations are coming through which will have implications on global value chains and supply chains. And the aim of these legislations really is to mainstream sustainability into international trade. So there are a number of countries like France, Netherlands, Germany, Australia, UK, and several others, and of course the European Union, which are in the process of developing legislations which will have implications on the movement of goods and services, because there are certain expectations that the northern governments and actors will have on what kind of goods can actually, what kind of goods and the the way those goods are manufactured or sourced are able to reach their countries. This also comes at a time when we've seen that there are considerable the southern actors, especially in countries like ours, which are the hotspots of sourcing and production, which have over the years gained significant importance in developing value chain. So this also there is this potential of this disalignment between the expectations on one hand of the northern sort of buyers, brand owners, and the capability of the southern suppliers and manufacturers to meet those expectations. So we are in for a very interesting time as international trade and global value chains get reorganized. And it is in this context that we'll have to understand how sustainable trade happens. I'll also go back maybe a little into, sort of step back a little in looking at why there is a need for such an attention on sustainability and the need for especially trade to have international business and trade to sort of talk about sustainable development. The interface really between private sector and sustainable development goals. So what is happening now is that gradually businesses, not just international businesses, but also domestic businesses, companies, are realizing that they don't operate in isolation. They are part of a system, and therefore there are different parts of that system which are linked to and have implications on how businesses operate. And the entire system is also prone to various nature and types of risks. So if you look at the global risk reports over the last few years, and the global risk reports are developed by the World Economic Forum, as you might be aware, over the last few years, issues related to biodiversity, extreme weather, the failure to address climate, failure to combat climate, livelihood crisis, these have featured as a top risks in the near future for society, for all of us. And given that businesses operate and is part of our society, businesses are also susceptible or exposed to these risks. So how can businesses assess their performance, not just in making money and growing, but also in being able to address and tackle these risks that they are susceptible to? And in this context, the importance of voluntary sustainability standards come in. And I'll explain in the next few slides about why and how the voluntary sustainability standards not only help businesses and international businesses especially, but also all kinds of business in identifying and preventing and mitigating these risks, but also in creating impacts on certain key sustainability parameters which are aligned to our national priorities of addressing the issues of the environment, wages, addressing the problem of forced labor, looking at soil and water conservation, and so on and so forth, which are really the priorities for us. So if you look at the just to sort of expound on this point a little further, if you look at international businesses, and of course all of us, and I'm sure many of us would be aware that these risks often lie obscured deep in the supply chain of international businesses. The story of Rana Plaza is well known to many of us, how this accident happened in Bangladesh, where from most of the well-known companies, global companies, were sourcing their apparel and killed over 1,200 people instantly. We also saw how unprepared we were, both as society and also as businesses, to deal with the problem of the exodus of the workers. we had not anticipated the risks associated with these issues. And therefore, what has happened over the years is that international businesses have worked with non-governmental organizations, international organizations, to create certain frameworks, identify some of these critical risks that they feel are there in their value chains, and develop sets of principles and criteria which really are, evolved or developed into voluntary sustainability standards. And what they also do is, especially to create market-related incentives, to highlight that if companies align with these principles and criteria, and thereby create opportunities to address those risks, they will be rewarded in the market. And that's how market-driven standards, or that's why they are called the voluntary sustainability standards. These are not mandatory by any regulation. They are voluntary for companies to pick up. And the sort of imperative for adopting these standards is essentially driven by those companies gaining market access, better rewards in the market, consumer preference, so on and so forth. It has been almost over 3+ decades that voluntary sustainability standards development had started. It really started with this whole issue of the fair trade movement to provide for the small and smallholder farmers, to give them more voice in the global trade. And over the last 30 years, as you can see from the graph, there has been a significant sort of movement upwards in terms of the number of voluntary sustainability standards that have been adopted globally. Right now, there are over 300 such standards, voluntary sustainability standards, addressing different sustainability issues, whether they're it's always a combination of environmental, social, and governance issues, but sometimes there is an inclination of certain voluntary sustainability standards to certain social or certain environmental parameters. Now, we've been talking about voluntary sustainability standards without really defining them. So what are voluntary sustainability standards? So the UN Forum on Sustainability Standards, which is based out of Geneva, and is an initiative co-hosted by UNCTAD and the International Trade Center and a few other initiatives, defines voluntary sustainability standards as rules that producers, traders, manufacturers, retailers, or service providers may be asked to follow to ensure that they make, grow, or do so that things that they make, grow, or do don't hurt people or the environment. These standards help workers lead a healthy life, protect communities and land, and uphold human rights, as well as reducing or mitigating environmental adverse impacts. As I said already, the voluntary, if you look at the voluntary system, and colleagues who are interested to learn more about voluntary sustainability standards, there are these 3 or 4 international organizations that have been at the forefront of doing work and research on voluntary sustainability standards. And one of them is the International Trade Center, based out of Geneva. And if you look at their website, there is this link of a page on standards map. So you can go onto that standards map homepage. The link is provided here, and you will get a whole array of voluntary sustainability standards, a whole universe of voluntary sustainability standards, and the commodities or the thematics that they cover, whether it is fisheries, electronics, textiles, or even thematics like water, child labor, deforestation, organic, and so on and so forth. Now, one of the leading organizations, another leading organization globally is ICEAL Alliance, which is based out of its office in the UK. And ICEAL Alliance has been developing because of the fact that there are a large number of voluntary sustainability standards, and all of them trying to catch the attention of the private sector and the private players to say, hey, we are the one that you should embrace in order to get better access in certain markets. And the proliferation of standards have happened. ICEAL Alliance has a code, has a set of principles called the credibility principles, and they essentially filter out the credible sustainability standards organizations. So if you look at their website, you will see that a bunch of they have a number of voluntary sustainability standards which are members and which have passed through this filter and are mostly used in international trade. And in many cases, these are essentially those commodities, those agro-commodities where much of the problem, not just agro-commodities, but also finished goods, where much of the problem pertaining to human rights or environment were encountered. So these pertain to commodities like tea, coffee, textiles, timber, pulp and paper, palm oil, so on and so forth. Now, what are the benefits of, if we can move on in terms of the interface with and the uptake of voluntary sustainability standards among enterprises? So what are the benefits really of voluntary sustainability standards? The benefits can be looked at from two perspectives, from two stages really. The short term or the immediate phase, and the long term or the interim or the long term phase. So from the short term, what it does is the voluntary sustainability standards also have sort of a management systems associated with it. So there are certain principles which help companies in streamlining their processes and systems, and whether they are pertaining to operations, sales, procurement, and also enable companies to standardize engagement with stakeholders. In the longer term, what they do is the value for businesses essentially is demonstrated in terms of resilience, both economic and social, in terms of enhanced reputation, in terms of production and efficiency, and of course, in terms of their impacts. There are specific environmental, social, and economic impacts which are also achieved as a result of the adoption. Now, how does voluntary sustainability standards play out in international trade in terms of, especially if you look at certain commodities? And here, I've shared this information from a report of the International Trade Center last year. If you look at the uptake of voluntary sustainability standards, specifically in agri-commodities, there are these 4 or 5 commodities where there has been a fairly appreciated amount of uptake of the standards from a global perspective. Of course, cocoa is the one which leads, but then there is cotton and coffee, tea, palm oil, and also sugar. So these commodities really are, when you look at the global area of the total area globally of these commodities, so much percentage of the total area globally is right now under certified production as far as these commodities are concerned. So in international trade, especially in the commodities segment, there has been considerable and significant improvement over the years in the uptake of voluntary sustainability standards. If we look at it more generally in terms of the implication on the nature of trade and markets, there is a fair bit of data, especially the research done by the UN Forum on Sustainability Standards, which highlights that standards provide enterprises with great opportunities to engage and interact in new markets, participate effectively in certain global value chains, and also ensure and provide assurance of the safety and the standard and the quality of the products that they provide. Finally, given that sustainability standards are also management standards, they also provide, and of course, as management consultants, you would appreciate, they also provide certain systems and processes that help in sort of improving product and the process efficiencies of these enterprises. But not everything is hunky-dory as far as voluntary sustainability standards are concerned. There are, of course, a lot of challenges, especially in countries like India and other developing markets, when we look at the adoption of voluntary sustainability standards. One of them, and those challenges are here on the screen. The first and the foremost is about costs, especially in certain markets which are very competitive, where companies are always trying to compete on costs. It becomes a challenge if companies are only going to compete on costs and not really compete on the value that they create in the market or society. So unfortunately, because of the fact that competition is generally only assessed in terms of costs, adoption of voluntary sustainability standards can have implication on their competitiveness in certain markets, especially domestically. Second is about the requirements as far as the compliance is concerned, and there is also this whole perception that voluntary sustainability standards have sort of propagated, that sustainability is a binary. You are either sustainable against a standard and therefore it's a yes, or you are not compliant and therefore not sustainable. So it's between a yes and a no. But unfortunately, sustainability is such a complex, multidimensional and complicated problem that using a binary to assess whether a particular enterprise is sustainable or not is being questioned. Therefore, what happens is that the indicators or the compliance levels which are being incorporated into standards are often developed without really understanding the culture, the context, and the ground realities of where those standards are implemented, because the standard setters sit somewhere else and the implementation happens somewhere else. So because of this distance and the disalignment, the expectations are set at such a high level where the enterprises are not able to match, and unfortunately there's a lot of tick boxing or khana purti, as we call it in this part of the world, which happens, which does not benefit neither the standard system nor the enterprise, or not even the impacts that they are expected to have on the ground. The other challenge which is emerging gradually also is in terms of the availability of data, which has implications on traceability, and of course for achieving transparency across the entire value chain. Whether it is geographical data, geospatial data, or even data on certain socioeconomic parameters, traceability has become a very big issue of contention between the suppliers and the buyers, and therefore often the adoption of sustainability standards is impeded because of this lack of traceable data which can be traced back to the ground. There is also market uncertainty, and you might say this, I'm there's an oxymoron somewhere here, because I spoke about the opportunity to access markets earlier, and I'm now saying market uncertainty. And that's true because unfortunately, the demand side has not evolved as much as the supply side of sustainability standards, not just in India, but globally. So therefore, what is happening is that just adoption of sustainability standards cannot guarantee that you will be able to get an assured long-term market, in any part of the world. The usual uncertainties of market access will continue to haunt the enterprise. So that is an area where a number of sustainability standards are trying to work to create and sort of dissipate those uncertainties by working with large brands and buyers to see whether there are some opportunities of what is now called as shared responsibility across the value chain. In a country like India, our industries are, the industry sector is about 70-80% SMEs, and the agriculture sector is about 90% smallholders. So the adoption of sustainability standards will only be possible when there is an opportunity for SMEs and smallholders to be included into the gamut of sustainability standards. And there is some progress happening, but a lot, much more needs to be done. Now, what are some of the other sort of developments that are happening on voluntary sustainability standards in India? The Quality Council of India has been an active organization as far as the engaging with the UN Forum on Sustainability Standards, and have established a private sustainability standards platform in India. Niti Aayog, in its voluntary national review of the Sustainable Development Goals of 2020, highlighted and referred to voluntary sustainability standards as a useful pathway for private sector to contribute to the SDGs. A number of Indian producers, suppliers across different commodities are now part of global value chain. So that also creates an opportunity for these actors to gain competitiveness if they are able to embrace voluntary sustainability standards and meet those aspirations. And let me also say this on the last point, that as I mentioned earlier, what we are also seeing and what we are also understanding is that the global requirements, especially when I mentioned about the OECD countries, the kind of legislations that are coming up, they are also trying to raise the bar even further beyond what the voluntary sustainability standards have sort of provided for. So there is also going to be even more pressure on Indian enterprises, especially the ones which want to get into some of these markets, to sort of play the catch-up game as far as aligning with those requirements. Some more challenges in terms of I've spoken about some of them, but one of the others is to basically highlight the level of awareness. So we are very happy that CCC is holding this sessions like these and other work on engaging especially senior consultants and management experts that you have in your network will definitely help in sort of creating more understanding and awareness. And I've also mentioned about a few organizations globally whose websites, etc., you can check. And of course, we are also available to provide that. So there is a need for doing research and improving capacity on voluntary sustainability standards. I'll finish off by highlighting a few things that CRB has been doing. So we've been engaging with a number of voluntary sustainability standards by highlighting and enabling them to understand the landscape across certain sectors and economies and and stakeholders in India. We've been also doing research on voluntary sustainability standards and providing knowledge and expertise in this area. And of course, we also have an initiative called the VSS Collaboration India, where we try and see how voluntary sustainability standards working in India can come together and engage with each other, periodically. And what we've done as part of this initiative, the VSS Collaboration India, is to hold discussions with voluntary sustainability standards experts. About 40 of them we have as part of this loose network on some of these contentious issues that I've highlighted earlier about inclusivity and inclusiveness of SMEs and smallholders, alignment with national and regional policy, and of course also talking about decision making, business decision making. In conclusion, I'd like to highlight here that there are opportunities for us to gain from this engagement, and also to see how what have been some of the experiences of voluntary sustainability standards in India, and what are some of the good practices, what have been their contribution on SDGs, on sustainable trade. The conversation that you're having today, maybe this can also be a topic of research that can be initiated to understand what has been the contribution of VSS to sustainable trade in India, which has not been undertaken. Opportunities for engagement with SMEs and smallholders, absolutely critical. There are processes that, as I said, certain standards are adopting. They are referred to as process of national interpretation. So a global standard is being nationally tailor-made, which requires a fair bit of time, but some standards have started to do that. The interface with public policy is critical. And the most important perhaps is, how do we empower and create the ability of the standard setters to better understand the context, the culture, and the ground realities in the networks of production and the hotspot of sourcing that countries like India are. So with that, I'll come to the end of this presentation, and I thank you once again, Dr. Venugopal, for the opportunity. I'm happy to take questions if there are any now or at a later stage. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sengupta, for that wonderful presentation. And standards, as long as they remain voluntary, industry is going to be the beneficiary of the same. See, standards, by and large, we feel as stakeholders that they should remain voluntary, and industry should develop confidence to implement and reap benefits. But globally, market access is getting tightened, and a lot of geopolitics happening at the market. And you're mentioning that OECD economies are trying to bring some legislations, and what's happening is mandatory. The moment this implementations programs become mandatory, it's truly overwhelming for the small and mid-sized businesses to invest heavily into this implementations, and they're also getting bogged down by multiple markets, and then domestic as well as the international arena, various countries, various requirements. So any initiative starting with a voluntary aspect is a good one. And yes, businesses today actually post-COVID, even a micro business is aspiring to go global. Even a micro business is kind of being part of the global value chain. It's a good beginning, and SDGs, of course, it's mind-boggling the kind of numbers that you're showing about the various standards that are available across the sectors. At least somewhere we have to make a beginning, and maybe governments have to think about even that research focus. The slide that you have shown is very informative, and it's an interesting slide because the focus of the government of India now is to build a good bridge between industry and academia, where the R&D is actually the responsibility of the academia jointly with the industry. So this is what is happening, and maybe yes, SDGs and SDG initiatives, the academia also has to come forward and jointly work with the industry and focus on R&D. In fact, SME businesses cannot spend much on R&Ds, but this is where they need to reach out to the academia. Very interesting presentation. Thank you so much for that. Any questions from the audience? Anything in the chat box? Would you like to ask? Anybody is interested in asking can unmute, or we can move forward to the end of the session for Q&A. Any specific questions? Anybody is interested can raise the hand, or we can move on to the next session, and then maybe we can take the questions during the Q&A. Thank you once again, Mr. Gupta. Now, coming to our second speaker of the day, we have Mr. Vijay Veeran, Joint Director from Bureau of Indian Standards. Yes. Vijay Veeran, who's the Scientist D and Joint Director, Bureau of Indian Standards. He is an electrical and electronics engineering person by qualification. And Mr. Vijay Veeran has been with Bureau of Indian Standards for more than 2 decades in various capacities, served in handling multiple assignments pertaining to product certification, laboratory testing, lab audits, admin, enforcement and legal, handling foreign manufacturers, hallmarking of gold and silver jewelry. And presently, he is handling management system certification initiatives as management system certification officer for Southern region. And he is also an auditor in quality management systems, EMS and OHSMS. So Mr. Vijay Veeran will be presenting to us today about the various national and international standards that are available under sustainability banner, which will be of immense use to the industries. Businesses should at least know which are the national standards, which are the international standards that are available under various sectors, which will in turn help them to pick up, choose, and start implementing accordingly. Thank you for joining us today, sir. Over to you now. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam. First of all, I thank the CCC, Rama Venugopal madam. In spite of her very busy schedule, she was with us in the World Standards Day function this morning, and again evening she is there for this meeting. So in bringing all the stakeholders on a single platform, she is the best in the country as far as I have seen in my 20 years of experience. She can work with all the stakeholders with that real spirit of bringing together all viewpoints, especially the government, the public sector, and as well as the private on a single platform. Thank you, madam. So let me present my small, about 15 to 20 minutes presentation of about 25 slides. In this, we will see the overview of the standards which are relevant to the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. Is my screen visible, ma'am?
Yes, sir. A full screen, please, sir. Yeah, clear, sir.
Okay, now is it clear, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Very clear, sir. Please continue.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. So this is the sustainability as the concept. Let me repeat. That is meeting the needs of the present without compromising the capacity of the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs. Like whatever we are doing, we have only inherited the resources of this planet, and without affecting the future generation, we have to leave it. Now we have come to a stage where sustaining life on this planet itself has become a question mark. If we proceed in the same way, then because all the resources will get depleted, and someday even starting one element will affect the other, because this is a very magnificent design of nature. Mother Nature has knows how to balance each and every carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen in a beautiful manner for millions of years. So suddenly our rapid development without the view from the other sectors, without the views of the stakeholders or other interested parties, has resulted in a lopsided development. After it starts, the results, the disadvantages are known only, then we are waking up, and then we are reactive. So now our decision to be proactive rather than reactive, this we have aligned the 17 SDGs and to work in a standardized format. So this will be the direction for the future. All the countries, all the nations will embrace this 17 SDGs and to align their policies and promotion procedures as per these SDGs, and there will be only funding will go. How it is going to affect? This is a brain level function. This is a design level function. What we have now started. In the very beginning, when even with the product certification or that the product standards were developed also, there were so many various plethora of standards present. Even the CGS system, it took so much of time to change the industry to SI units. But ultimately, it became a reality. Like that, this SDGs, now it may be new to us because it is the starting point. But in future, down the line, after 20 years, 30 years, only these standards will govern the working of governments, public sector, and industry, and everything actually. This is going to be the future. So let me take 15-20 minutes of your time in just apprising you, giving an overview of the what is the scenario of the standards as far as this 17 SDGs are connected. So these three elements into harmony, that is the environment, the society, and the economy. So as I told, the material consumption is a finite world, whereas our wants and desires are infinite. So someday the resources may get depleted. So this sustainable development, it puts these 5 key elements, which have been taken into consideration in formulating this 17 classifications of this. The first is the people. Every human life is precious, and we have to keep that in mind, that how this civilization has to be sustained on this planet. And we have to prosper in a peaceful way, and through partnership only, partnership of all the stakeholders. It involves each and every responsible citizen to the policies of the government. The entire spectrum has to be involved. So as we know, this on September 25, 2015, that all the 193 heads of state at the UN General Assembly, they came up with this 17 goals. Actually, it's a very historical event in which we have decided that we will, the future will be towards this goal. 2030, by the year 2030, we have set a target that there is a universal call of action. The goals are broad, interdependent, and cover social, economic, social issues. So then making everyone's responsibility. As I told, from a common citizen to the governments, it is everyone's responsibility. So these are the summed up 17 sustainable development goals. This is the logo of that 17 colored logo. How to use this logo and how to use this terminology also, there are guidelines for reuse of this pictorial. So starting with this, how was the trend? Initially, this environmental concerns started in late 80s, actually in early 90s. There were eco labels and standards for organic food. Because pesticide use was heavy, chemical fertilizers, everything. No, there was a little bit awareness, and then it followed the test methods, then certification for organic food. Then this ISO, this is the spectrum of the ISO standards published. More than 22,000 ISO standards are available as on date, which is related to this 17 SDGs, as we see. The maximum being the industry innovation and infrastructure. This 13,170 standards alone related to industry innovation and infrastructure, because this is where we had a very rapid development, and followed by the good health and well-being, the medical and the associated areas where the maximum standards have been associated. So as we see, the through standards, we can reasonably cover all the SDGs if all the stakeholders embrace the standards practices. So first, no poverty. Then second goal, zero hunger. As I told, all are interrelated. When there is no poverty, there won't be any hunger. So 1/3 of the world's food production is wasted. Only 2/3 are consumed. Very huge, millions and millions of tons of food is wasted. Now there is a need for packaging, storing, handling, and to avoid contamination, as well as to how to recall the expired products and how to where else it can be used. Like that, this is covers the entire spectrum of a zero hunger. This 16,000 ISO standards are there for the food sector as such. It is designed for by improving agricultural methods, for promoting sustainable and ethical purchasing, nutritional safety, so many test methods, right from water, drinking water to complex substances. There have been test methods and validations. Everything is developed. So a large number of standards are available for food production sector. Then, as we all know, the very popular ISO 22000 Food Safety Management System, it covers the entire spectrum of the food industry as far as the management system is concerned. It same as the high-level structure ISO 9001, customized for food industry. The 10-class structure, high-level structure is the same used here. And this is also widely adopted by the industry. Then comes ISO 26000, which is our social responsibility. That is also connected to zero hunger. Then sustainable procurement. This is also connected to zero hunger. The ISO 20400 takes up. So throughout this presentation, in goal 3, how many standards are connected? Goal 5, goal 7, goal like that. 70 of all the SDGs, what are all the ISO standards are associated with that. This presentation I will share with Rama Madam also. The others can also make use of it. It gives you a ready-made information about, suppose in one sector you want to invest or you are looking for some information, directly you can refer that standard, because all the stakeholders have already done the brainstorming and put in their best ideas in the standards. Standards is the best starting place. As we all know, we all are very concerned, we are all well informed, but when it comes to business, manufacturing, trading, all the traditional design, development, production, installation, testing, commissioning, sales, after service, entire spectrum, that we need standards for smooth continuation. And when implementing these standards in our organizations, whatever lessons learned by us, whatever risk faced by us, that we capture in the procedures. Even men may come and go, but the lessons they learned will be available for the next generation also. So thereby the standard that it will start growing in itself. So these few standards, ISO 11117 is for this, and this is another very popular standard. Of late, it is becoming very relevant to all the medical devices manufacturers. ISO 13485. And this Indian standard, we have published, BIS has published indigenous standard 23485, and we have granted one license also. It covers both IVD as well as non-IVD in a single standard, management system standard again. Then occupational health, this is a very popular occupational safety and health management system standard, ISO 45000. These are connected with the goal 3. Then goal 4, we have come up with the unique standard, again ISO 9001 only, customized for educational organizations, EOMS, educational organization management system, ISO 21001. Then clean water and sanitation is this is another indigenous standard. Now right now we are holding talks with all the government water supply body utilities, Metro Water as well as other PHEDs for implementation in their organizations. This is a unique, it is a composite standard. Apart from the same ISO 9001 management system requirements, it has a product requirement also. The water has to conform to Indian standard 10500. Water will be tested by the authorities for granting and maintaining the license. Then ISO 2451 to help the communities manage the drinking water as well as wastewater services. Then again, in the same family, 24521 gives the guidance on the management and maintenance of the on-site domestic water services. Then continuation, clean water and sanitation, we have environmental management, water footprint. Like carbon footprint, we have water footprint also. We have developed the standards, principle, requirements, and guidelines. So this ISO and BS has more than 200 standards related to energy efficiency. Energy, as we all know, when you use energy, it creates lot of side effects also. Means energy efficiency is very important, because one, generating energy itself, you use lot of natural resources, and when spending that energy, for example, air conditioning, again lot of resources are utilized, the associated burden on the infrastructure. So having more focus on this now energy management systems are becoming very pertinent, and many organizations are getting certification for this also. Responsible consumption and production. This is already, if I remember, Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Aparigraha. The fourth concept of the 5 yamas, the fourth is this. Hoarding more than what is necessary is to be avoided. So this is there right from thousands of years in our ancient history. Again, it is given in a very structured and documented format for the implementation by the organization. So responsible consumption, what is required only that much. Environmental labeling also is a byproduct for this, so there's an associated standard. Sustainability in building construction. So much construction is happening all over the world. There is a big boom. Another problem is whatever constructions happened 70, 80 years before, all those structures will have to be demolished and reconstructed, because concrete life is limited. 100 years, again we have to redo. Not like the ancient temples what we have in Chennai, Thiruvanmiyur Marandeswara temple is 1300 years old. Kapalishwara temple is also some 1300 years old. Minimum you take any ancient temple, it will be some 800 years, 1000 years, 1300 years. But all the concrete building constructions, what happened, the modern engineered construction, all that have to be rebuilt after say 70 years, 90 years, or whatever. But it has to, someday we have to demolish and rebuild. So keeping that as well as the new. Once the standard of life increases, more construction will be required and more reconstructions will be required. So this is very important for as far as sustaining the construction industry. Then sustainable lifestyle choices. So Eco-Mark scheme. This has been a very important scheme by Bureau of Indian Standards. This is a product, we can mark it on this product. Suppose a product is made in an environment-friendly manner. In addition to the ISA mark, the product standard mark, they can mark this the pot standard also, no? The clay pot that gives the Eco-Mark. This is called. This is also, we have gazetted this Eco-Mark also. This shows that while making this product, in these 17 products, whether we are using natural resources in an environment-friendly manner. There is a wide options available to choose from the naturally available resources in a responsible way. For example, a timber species. If a species is endangered, we should not use it. The standard itself provides these species can be easily regrown. From that, you can do the manufacturing. Like that. In every item, the recommendations are given from where we can, what materials we can use, and what processes we can adopt. And how the after use, after the life cycle, what the end use of the product, how it is to be disposed or recycled. The climate action. This is a big worry actually. One of the major threat of climate change. Because we cannot even assess how much damage, whether it's a melting of glaciers are rising sea level, the temperature rise, or whatever. Honestly telling, we do not even know what we don't know, what we are yet to know. So thankfully, this EMS standard, Environmental Management System, ISO 14001 and related standards give us guidance on managing our operations, any for organizations to implement in their organizations for environmental management systems. It is also widely accepted and very popular standard. Similar 14001 series, we have other standards also. Life on land, environmental management, again same 14,000 series of standards. Another area of focus is sustainable forestry, ISO 38200, chain of custody of wood-based products, and promotes traceability. Now with the advancement in digital technology and all the blockchain concept and all, now traceability concept is rising, and it is gaining popularity. Sustainability ESG reporting. That this is a very latest thing. That ESG reporting. Many companies, or again, some clients may insist that they will do business only with companies with a good ESG rating, like environmental, social, and governance goals. So this is a assurance engagement. So based on some study, the 88% of the investors believe companies that prioritize ESG initiatives represent better opportunity for long-term returns. As I told you, it is very important when you build relation with the company, the longevity or the long-term association with that company is very important. Companies, we do business, after some time, again, you have to search another business partner or another vendor and supply chain. It becomes more costly than this, actually. So in the long run, companies which have this much of awareness and who can go in for a sustainability report, who are bold enough, who can show the world, yes, see, I am capable of getting this rating. So they are more reliable to do business with. So this is one thing. Indian standard ESG reporting and assurance, already IS 26001, there is a corporate CSR requirements are given. This is an indigenous, this is a BI standard. In the same family of standards, there are 3 parts, as you see. I'll share the presentation. I'll keep my presentation brief and I'll share this PPT in which all the details are, the numbers are given. So again, for this international same 14,000 family of standards, the greenhouse gases, our organization level, project level, and these guidances are given. Again. So to conclude, I will sum up that these standards, whatever the management system standards or the guidance standards and the certification of those standards, it is only a starting point. Many think I've got a license for this certification, ISO 14001. My environmental management system is over. It is not. It is only a starting point. It is a commitment that you will start working in that PDCA cycle as far as your environmental safety or the matters are concerned. Iteration by iteration, review by review, audit by audit, the lessons, whatever we have learned, risk by risk, that model will mature into wisdom. So some companies may realize the benefits within few months, and for some it may take few years also, depending on how fast their PDCA cycle is. So thank you. Thank you once again for your all valuable time, and we are all very important stakeholders. We are available, BIS is available anytime for any guidance or discussions on any of the matters related to standards. You can contact any of the BIS scientists. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vijay Viren sir, for that wonderful presentation. I do remember DDG sir has presented a similar one during WAD celebrations in Chennai, and it was really appreciated by all. Because it's a very nice compilation. This one of the reasons why we have again requested you just to present something on the similar lines, because as we as stakeholders normally don't get an overall coverage of a wide range of this national or international standards under one roof. And maybe basically when CVs and others do programs, it's always on selected topics. But compiling this and mapping this to the 17 SDGs and informing the stakeholders what is available at a national standards level, what is available at an international standards level, it's very critical for them to know, and at least they all can pick up some low-hanging fruits, and then they can start implementing it. Even they'll start referring all the standards. Thank you so much for that presentation. One of the reasons why we keep requesting, inviting BIS all the time for the programs is they learn so much in the process. All the stakeholders are also learning so much in the process about the standards. Thank you so much for that nice presentation. A request to the delegates, Mr. Sengupta has to log off maybe in another 5 minutes time. So if anybody has any questions, please unmute yourself and you can request Mr. Sengupta to answer. Then we will continue with the presentation. There's one question in the chat box, Mr. Sengupta, I guess. Somebody said fake certification, will handle it later, please. There is one on that AIS battery. I saw one. Yeah. Is there any eco-labeled battery so far? And whether it can be linked to the evolving EV segment of transportation?
Madam, in southern region, up to my knowledge, it is not there. Maybe I'll check up with all the other north, center, west, and east, and I'll come back.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, thank you.
Because it is a latest thing.
Is it a green battery, sir? I think who's asking? Mishraji is asking, I guess, from Enviro Annotations. Are you asking about a green battery?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Good evening to everybody. Yes, actually, I was thrilled to see that presentation, and I couldn't resist to question that. I have got, ma'am, yes. I have got one question to for Sengupta sir also. See, we are talking about this VSS. Now there are so many, and VSS, when he was deliberating on VSS, we understood that there are so many MSMEs and agricultural sector also. Now we have some large scale industries also, and you will find, and particularly, being MS consultant group, and most of the people are in certification, and some are probably internal or maybe external auditors also. Being auditors, you must be understanding my point that large scale industries often fail to comply the basic legal requirements or legal conditions laid by them, and these are all most of the times with an agreement when they get a clearance from ministry, or they get an agreement particularly, and they fail to comply for years and years. How to address that? That is one of the major issues, if you can address that. Thank you.
We'll be addressing this, one of the speakers. Sir, you can unmute yourself, Mr. Sengupta. You're muted, I guess. Yeah, please.
Yeah, so I think the question was not very clear to me. Can you repeat the question, because I felt it was almost like a comment. What is the specific question that you're asking?
Okay. My question is that, sir, there are several, when we are talking about voluntary standards, there are certain conditions given by, let's say, when it is environment, we have got consent to operate, we have got environmental clearances, we've got forest clearances. Now, when these clearances and consents are accorded by a government body to any industry, then they put certain conditions, and those conditions are generally based on whatever the industries submit in their reports to the bodies, to the government bodies. So, but even then they fail to comply with those conditions for years after years, maybe 10 years, maybe 15 years sometimes. So what I'm saying is, when we are talking about VSS, how to ensure that we can at least comply with our basic legal requirements? If you can address that.
Okay. I think, probably it is better to sort of differentiate between the minimum requirements and the voluntary requirements. Okay. So, so as far as the any company is concerned, there are particular licenses to operate, minimum requirements for you to operate, whether they are environmental or they are sort of related to labor, etc., etc. So those are absolutely mandatory. If you are not complying with them, there can be legal proceedings, and these are all mandatory requirements. When you talk about voluntary sustainability standards, these are not mandated by law. These are standards which require you to go beyond what is legal and to basically get into a position where you can compete with various other actors in the same domain. By adopting some of those standards, you sort of demonstrate your performance, and then on the basis of your sustainability performance on specific indicators, you compete with the other actors who are either trying to get into a particular market or access finance, so on, or even engage with government through sustainable procurement. So these two are at two different levels. The minimum requirements are the legal requirements, and they are mandatory by law for any company. Voluntary standards are voluntary. They are much beyond, in all cases, if I may, and companies, it is really up to the companies to embrace them if they feel they are ready for it, or if they have certain aspirations to get into certain markets or enter into certain economic partnerships with other actors. So that would be my response. I think Anilji is here and he wants to also perhaps chime in.
Yes, sir has raised his. Sir, you can answer that also. Mr. Anilji.
Yeah, I thought I had to add something to this discussion. I mean, I sometimes wonder why we expect voluntary standards to enforce legal compliances. Really speaking, enforcing legal compliance is the job of the regulator. Let's be very clear on this. If he's failing to do his job, you can't hold voluntary standards responsible. However, as Vijit said, that voluntary standards are generally regulations plus. They can't be regulation minus. They can't be regulation minus in any case. And having duplicating regulations and voluntary standards doesn't make any sense. So they are usually regulations plus. The only responsibility that voluntary standards certifiers, so to say, do have is to make sure that they are not certifying someone who might be legally non-compliant. That doesn't mean that they will check legal compliance 100%. That means they would make sure that the clients have a system in place to monitor legal compliance. They have a whole system in place, and also do a sample check on the legal compliance. This is the international understanding, but still they can't, that is also to cover their risk, because as a voluntary standards, for example, this pharma incident which has taken place in Gambia, I'm just wondering if this pharma unit is ISO 9001 certified, and I would like to know who is certified and what did they do during certification process, and what is their reaction now to this incident. It's not only the regulator who is acting. Certainly he has suspended the license or whatever, but what about ISO 9001 certificate if they have, because lots of pharma units do have. So let's be very clear on this responsibility part. Who is responsible for what? The legal compliance is the responsibility of the regulator, period. Nobody else's. We always say that voluntary standards promote better compliance by saying that you should comply with the law, checking them on a sampling basis, etc. The voluntary standards promote better compliance to the law. So they are a support, but they can't replace the regulator, and they can't enforce legal compliance. That's just, we should be clear on that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Any other questions, please? to Mr. Sen Gupta before I think he has got to leave at 6 o'clock. If there are no questions to him, then we can continue with the session. Yeah, thank you. Now, we will just move on to the next presentation. We heard from Mr. Sen Gupta about how the sustainability standards are linked to international trade, and is there a connect or is there no connect? He was explaining about all those aspects. Then we heard Mr. Vijay Veeran speaking about various standards, national as well as international standards that are available, mapping with the sustainable development goals, which will help the businesses. Now we will have the next perspective, the next presentation from Mr. Ramkumar Paraman, who is a management systems consultant, who's also a founder of Pragya Consultancy, and he is vice president of our association, CCC. He will bring in his perspective as a management system consultant about how implementing some of the standards will help businesses to get connected to global markets or to create global opportunities. We just briefly introduce Mr. Ramkumar. Just give me 1 second. Yeah. About 22 years of diversified experience in the domain of quality, food safety, health and safety, and environmental management systems. He's worked as a quality, health and safety and environmental manager in the industry. He's now the founder of Pragya Consultancy, been in the consulting domain for a long period. So he's a certified lead auditor and instructor for various standards like IATF 16949, some of this 9001, 14001, 27001, 22000, and 45001. He's a certified assessor in this Exim Bank model, CII's model on business excellence. And he's conducting training related to various topics on various management system standards, and then risk management, and core tools, etc. So he will bring his perspective as a consultant and how the sustainability standards help the businesses. Over to you, sir. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Rama ma'am. Hope you can see the PowerPoint presentation.
Yes, clear, sir. It is clear.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, Mr. Sen Gupta and as well as Mr. Vijay Veeran have highlighted the voluntary sustainability standards and also the Indian standards on sustainability. And Mr. Vijay Veeran has really given a wonderful coverage of all the related sustainability standards in one single shot. And really, it was amazing to see all the consolidated the list that was available with him. My topic today is implementing the sustainability standards, how it is going to help the business houses to go global. So that is the topic today. And the new customer expectation, as we all know, we are all customers and consumers in one way or other. So we are expecting that having a product or service that provides value to our customers is no longer enough. Expectations have changed and the customers are increasingly value the contribution to the society and to the planet, that companies pledge and make choices based on how companies respond. So it is not only the quality of the product, gone are the days. Now people have started looking into the way the manufacturing companies or the business houses are looking at the environmental part as well as the social part. So that is gaining importance. As already indicated, sustainability is a three-legged stool. It is society, then environment, and economy. So there is a growing trend that the customers are increasingly choosing and advocating for organizations that live by sustainable values. The very key word is living by sustainable values. That is a key word. So increasingly, the companies are responding to the sustainability trends through internal and external facing initiatives, like environmental initiatives are being carried out, and lot of social activities, corporate social responsibilities, CSR funds are being spent by the companies for the society which they belong to. And for today's consumer, sustainability increasingly means not only climate and conservation, but also fairness and corporate citizenship. So 2 years ago, sustainability was largely equated with environmental friendliness. The moment any company talks about sustainability, immediately they will think only about the environmental aspect. But today, fair prices and fair wages, in fact, the discussion was about the regulatory, complying to the regulatory, the consent order, already we are getting for environmental things. So why there is a need for more, to again emphasize more, that was taken up for discussion just now. In fact, with related to wages, I want to highlight one thing. Previously, the voluntary sustainable standards were satisfied if the minimum wages was complied with by the business houses. But nowadays, now they started demanding the living wage. So the living wage is a concept which has emerged recently, where the companies are expected to pay their employees equating the living wage of the place where they are in. So the paradigm shift is happening now. And alternatively, energy among the top 5 features consumers selected from a list of associations with the climate change is again one more area where many consumers and many customers are really worried about. So sustainability standard implementation is no longer a tick box or a checklist exercise where there is a list of requirements provided by the standard where you just put a checklist and put a tick mark and say, yes, we are complying with these requirements. No, it's not like that. It is a critical investment area where organizations can realize genuine returns and opportunities for competitive advantage. So, and businesses, to become more sustainable, they have to connect with the need of the society or the need of the customer or the consumer, and repair their social trust and make sustainability a core principle, and do research on their own domain which they belong to, innovate new things, come out with novel ideas of implementing sustainability in their company, and incorporate diversified leadership, and set a long-term and holistic vision, and be accountable and constantly improve. So continual improvement is part of ISO 9001 requirement. Many companies which have adopted ISO management system standards, it's easy for them to adopt these voluntary sustainable standards, but little bit of extra hard work is required, and also smart work is required for complying with these requirements of the VSS. And the 7 key strategies which is required for sustainability in the workplace is encourage remote and hybrid work, and go paperless, conserve energy, conserve water, and preserve the biodiversity, in fact, and encourage sustainable transportation, reduce, reuse, and recycle, the 3 R's slogan for environmental management system, which is emphasized in ISO 14001, and become involved in the community. So involvement in the community and the community related activities, and of course, light it up with a little humor. We have to strategize the entire thing of sustainability, and it should be a long term. So 5 steps towards sustainability will be discovery, alignment, establishing the priorities, implementation, looking, learning, and adapting. So these are all the different steps which the companies have to adopt themselves to go global. The 4 pillars of sustainability: human element is very important, manpower resources, human resources is very important and vital in any chain. So the human sustainability aims to maintain and improve the human capital in the society. So the living conditions, the working conditions, the living conditions, if there is a accommodation which is provided by the employer to their employees, what are the living conditions, how it is it safe, is it healthy, is it hygienic? All the social aspects of audit is being included part of the sustainability standards requirement. And social sustainability, there should not be any discrimination, any harassment, or any form of any bullying or any reprisal. There is a fear of reprisal. All those things should be covered under the social sustainability. And in fact, this dimension of social aspect in sustainability warrants the human resource department and all the other HODs in a company to act as a team, so that the fear of reprisal actually it is pertaining to every department HOD's behavior and attitude towards their own subordinates. So it is very difficult to really cull out the real fear of reprisal in an organization. And but during the audit, it will be a tough time for even the auditors also to find out whether there is any fear of reprisal among the employees or not. So, and the economic sustainability, of course, any business house it concentrates on the economical thing, that is the balance sheets and also the cost of production, the cost of sales, the realization, everything is included. And overall, there should be some value addition in the turnover as well as the profitability. There should be a growth, sustainable growth. And of course, the environmental sustainability, lot of standards are available, wherein a lot of regulatory requirements are there to fulfill these environmental sustainability requirements, as highlighted by Mr. Johri sir, that these are the voluntary sustainability standards expect something little more than the regulatory requirements. And like what I highlighted regarding the wages, even the environmental aspect also, just complying with the consent order or regulatory requirement is not enough. So still further more steps what has been taken by the company to fulfill the economic sustainability or achieve the economic sustainability will be looked into by the auditors during the audit. And sustainability helps the business to go global. It is in fact help the companies to pick the right partners for global expansion. This is one of the key things, key feature wherein a business house is normally will be looking for a right partner so that they can expand their business globally. So naturally, these sustainable standards provides an opportunity for the business houses to pick the right partners for expanding their business globally and adopt a clear strategy for their own product or service and think proactively and reinvest in the business and go lean in a new market. So these are all some of the key things which the business also have to keep in mind while adopting the sustainability standards. And let me share my own experience while implementing some of the voluntary sustainability standards. So I have implemented personally Bonsapro, which is a sustainability standard with respect to sugarcane farm and the mills. It is based in London, and largely it focuses on smallholder farmers who are cultivating sugarcane in our country, and driving sustainability among farmers is always in our country. Farmers always relate their anything which you go and talk to them, immediately they will ask about the cost benefit ratio, which is very natural, and the cost of cultivation. So slowly they have to be educated and the awareness has to be created among the farmers and the farms that whatever sustainability practices they are going to follow today, it is going to have a long-term benefit for them in the near future. Maybe a short-term benefit of an immediate cost-benefit ratio may not be, it may not be able to clearly work out the nitty-gritties of that. Sometimes farmer might be disappointed by the way we are explaining. It will take, it is still, we are on the inception stage and it is still taking a longer, it will take a longer duration among the farmers to realize about the sustainability concept itself. That is one challenge which is before all the consultants. If you are a consultant, definitely it is going to be a bigger challenge in dealing with the farms and the farming communities. And added to that is the farm workers. So farm workers is part of the social aspect of sustainability standards. Again here, the minimum wages has been prescribed by the government of the respective state governments as well as the Indian government for paying the wages for the farm workers. And also the equal payment to both male and female workers. This is again a bigger challenge. In my experience, I have seen in many villages there is a discrepancy which is being adopted by paying to a male worker and that paying very low to a female worker. So these are all the things which is a challenge for us. Slowly we have to educate the people and make them realize that such type of discrepancies and discrimination is not allowed. And again, the cost of cultivation will be cited by the farmer as a reason for paying differential wages between a male and a female worker, farm worker. So farm workers interviews will be conducted by the auditor who is coming for the audit in the auditing the sustainability standards. Again, they'll be auditing them in a separate place where the farmers will not be allowed, and it will happen as like any other social interviews. So this is again, we are still improved, a long way to go. And moreover, sugar industry is a regulated industry in our country, and awareness is slowly increasing among sugar mills to go global. And value-added products in sugar are now getting prime importance, and people have started realizing about the different type of products which can be produced, and there is a huge market for it in the globe. And especially molasses and ethyl alcohol derivatives are gaining importance in the global market, and the related sustainability standards, Bonsucro. And there is one more standard which I have been providing consultancy recently, is Roundtable on Sustainable Biomaterials. Recently, one of the big company in Uttarakhand, they went for this. They are a alcohol producing company, and they were able to successfully get this certificate. And a lot of hiccups were there initially in understanding the requirements. But of late, one thing which I am feeling very happy, that the business houses have started realizing the importance of all these voluntary sustainable standards, and by the way they are going to get a major share in the global market. They have started realizing it. That is clearly visible in the recruitment of sustainability head. A separate vertical has been created in many companies where I am seeing now. There is a head sustainability. That designation is being given to some senior person in the ladder and in the hierarchy, and they have been given the responsibility of implementing all these sustainability standards in their company. So it's a welcome move. In fact, that's a good thing which is happening in the industry. And one more standard is YES, which is Yarn Ethically and Sustainability Source, which is part of Responsible Sourcing Network. Already Better Cotton Initiative, BCI, is picking up in our country, and now YES standard is also being adopted by many yarn manufacturers and also the textile mills. Okay. And there is one more, yet another major sustainability standard is RSPO, which is a roundtable on sustainable palm oil and palm oil derived products. So industry has started adopting this standard, and Fair Trade USA is being adopted by tea estates and coffee estates and spices manufacturers. The cost benefit is prominent in the minds of the industries while engaging themselves, and the farms and farmers feel that they are not getting direct benefits because of the certification is given to the companies and not the farms. Again, this is again a big issue which has to be discussed at the public domain, where definitely what is the profit share which is going to be shared with the farms or the farming communities, again is a big question mark. Again, long way to go in that area also. And involvement of all stakeholders. Stakeholder consultation is part of sustainability standard auditing. So understanding the different stakeholders in the chain, that itself is a big challenge. Many industries, they understand the different stakeholders who are there, part of this their manufacturing process or the supply chain, but very few people, they have limited knowledge about the different stakeholders. And even they have the list of stakeholders. I remember now that in ISO 9001 4.1, context of the organization, external context and internal context, and 4.2 is understanding the needs and expectations of the interested parties. So it is given in a different terminology there in ISO standard. Interested parties are nothing but the stakeholders. So naturally, the risk associated in fulfilling those needs and expectations, the mitigation measures what the companies are taking, has to be properly understood in the way it has to be. And civil society involvement in the industry, very few industries involve the civil society in their neighborhood communities are getting involved in that. And a lot of CSR activities are being now, at least government of India has taken a very good move that 5% of the profit or the turnover, I think, must be spent on CSR activities. That's a really good move. And market scenario ups and downs are there, which is actually creating the hesitation among the industries to take up these sustainability standards in the true spirit. So whenever there is a upward trend, people are happy, and definitely they are ready to spend or invest money on sustainability standards. But the problem is, whenever there is a downward trend in the market, in the international market or in the international arena, naturally there is a tendency that why should I spend so much of money on these sustainability initiatives? So somewhere there must be a balancing between the market trend scenario as well as the investment which is being done by the corporates or the manufacturing industries or the business houses towards sustainability initiatives. Of course, chain of custody, the record maintenance are being maintained by many companies, and the voluntary sustainability standard auditors are very much particular about the chain of custody, and they are literally, they will go through the entire, taking the samples, drawing the samples, they will verify from the source to the finished goods or the end warehouses how the traceability is maintained. That is all being checked. So, and of course, adopting best industry practices, and of course, branding of products is again yet another area where definitely it will push the Indian industry into the global arena. And for that, the sustainability standards help the industries in going for a branding with the sustainability logo on their product, and the labeling and the claims what they are making on the particular product, what they are manufacturing, and the marketing their product in the globe. Definitely it is going to be helpful for all the industries. So branding is another area where more emphasis is being given as a part of the sustainability initiatives. And many brands have become popular, Indian brands have become popular abroad. For example, in the domain of coffee, the domain of marine foods, in the domain of sugar as well as sugar products, sugar related products, cotton, yarn. I can list out so many products which is really gaining importance in the international arena. And social dimension, civil society, NGOs, welfare measures, living wages. Living wages is again picking up now. Maybe we are not very, the industries are contented with paying only the minimum wages. So the living wage is a different concept by itself. If the audience of this particular evening, you want to know something, please Google it about the living wage index, and it differs from zone to zone or the region to region. And environmental dimension, biodiversity, high conservative value areas, HCV areas, and again here, the HCV areas, the understanding of the different types of HCV areas in our country, there the awareness is very limited. And also about calculating the GHG emissions, the calculation methodology to be followed, usage, handling, and disposal of both hazardous and non-hazardous waste. All this will help the industry to go in for a bigger manner, going global very, very quickly if the understanding is better. And of course, the economic dimension, the cost of production, sales realization, and premium price, what they get at the end of the day after selling their product, that matters much. In again and again in reinvesting money back into the system. So definitely it is going to play a major role. And regarding the consultant competency, where in my own domain as a consultant, what I feel was knowledge about the sustainability standard requirements. The consultant must be thorough and gather more information about the evidences required for fulfilling the standard requirements, and provide practical examples to the clients, and also help in documentation. 3 areas: social, economical, and environmental. The consultant must be at least a domain expert in that particular domain area. And also continuous knowledge updating, last but not the least, is very, very important for any management system consultant. And this already Mr. Sengupta has already highlighted this point in his presentation. The realized business benefits, where in fact the early business benefits are the capability building and the capacity building on part of the industries, and the practices what they follow, the best industry practices, and improving the processes and the relationships, and looking out for exploring the opportunities and other intermediate results using standards upstream and downstream business entities. This is very important. And this is a final business benefits where it contributes to various remarkable growth in many factors, both internal and external to the companies. And finally, the business benefits are improving the business value and also the sustainability impact. An example of sustainability impacts: reduced conflicts with the local communities. We have seen so many examples in our country where the cordial relationship, if the industry is not maintaining with the local community, it has contributed even to the closure of the company in that particular region. There are a lot of examples which has happened in the past and the recent past also. So definitely the sustainability initiative will help reducing the local conflicts and also improve the workers' health condition and the working conditions, and create a positive synergy, synchronized energy among the workforce, which is very important on the workers' morale. And improved performance of small-scale producers can contribute to improve short-term and long-term security and enhance the reputation, brand reputation, and the image of the company will go up. And enhanced sustainable management can contribute to the preservation of the resources and thus long-term supply security. And influencing factors has already been highlighted by Mr. Sengupta. There are company characteristics, sector characteristics, and standard system characteristics. I'm not going into the details because of lack of time. Already it is late. And concluding thoughts which I want to highlight is sustainability standards offer a wide range of early benefits to the business. And of course, these standards can result in improvements of business operations, procurement, sales, and marketing, and stakeholder engagement, and to a sector-wide change as well. And benefits such as improved market access, premium price, and profitability do not always materialize through, although businesses might expect standards to deliver such benefits consistently. Standards are not providing any guarantee to the business houses or the companies for getting a continued, consistent beneficial market share. It is largely depending on the performance. It largely depends on the quality of the product what the companies produce and their own branding, the placing of their own company in the global market. That plays a major role. This only enhances or facilitates their position in the global market. And using standards can also introduce new limitations such as high compliance costs, greater need for administration and record keeping, supply side challenges, and increased public exposure. These limitations should not be underestimated while they tread the path of sustainable certifications. So the industrial houses and the business houses must take note of this point. And rather than using the sustainability standards as a standalone tool, businesses must be encouraged to use standard as an instrument that is part of more integrated medium and long-term strategies, operations, procurement, sales, and marketing, stakeholder engagement, and promoting sector-wide change. So they should be a pioneer in their own domain, in short, and they should be a standing example for others. So being market-driven instruments, the uptake of standards depends primarily on the value that end users of these standards experience and the extent by which different tiers of suppliers are willing and able to implement them. And with that concluding thoughts, I thank everyone for giving a wonderful opportunity to share my thoughts and my experiences with respect to the implementation of sustainable standards in companies or industries. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the detailed, wonderful presentation, Ramkumar sir. Actually, you have really brought a different dimension, especially the last few slides are very interesting, where you were presenting about the various standards that are being used, maybe as part of your value chain initiatives, global value chain initiatives, sourcing and procurement related requirements. It's interesting to see that Bonsucro, which is happening at sugarcane fields and farmers level, especially it's a farming community, and they are also embracing initiatives like this. What is actually happening not in the business world and corporate world, it is actually happening at farming level. That itself is a big motivation for all of us. Thank you so much for that detailed presentation. Now over to the audience for any specific Q&A. We do have 5-10 minutes for Q&A. If there are any questions, request the audience, please unmute yourself and make the question very brief and short. We do have Mr. Vijay Veeran from BIS and Mr. Ramkumar to address all this. Mr. Sengupta had to leave as he had another engagement actually. Any queries?
Ma'am, Sanjay Mishra again. Just one small question.
Yeah.
There were certain references on Bonsucro, and there was some other certification
Right.
related to alcohol manufacturing. And in India also, we are manufacturing now. Probably a lot of movement is going on in the bioethanol or ethanol production. So, is there any relation between these two? I mean, the standards and what we are doing in India. Can we relate these two?
Ramkumar sir?
Madam, the audio was not very clear. Can I get what is the question?
Sir, let me repeat. Now, you referred to things. One is Bonsucro, and there was another some standard, and it was related to alcohol production. India is now pursuing a lot of, India is also trying to produce a lot of ethanol for blending purpose, into the automobile sector. Now, can we relate those standards, Bon Sucro and the other standard, to this bioethanol or ethanol manufacturing in India?
Yeah, I got your question, sir. So, Bon Sucro, actually, the ethanol should be from a Bon Sucro certified farm or a sugarcane farm or a sugarcane grower, or from a certified, if there is a distillery where they are procuring molasses as the raw material, because alcohol is produced from different raw materials also, not only from molasses. I think you may be aware of it. So if the raw material is from molasses, and the molasses should be a Bon Sucro certified source. That is what they are asking. Otherwise, they can go in for a Bon Sucro certification, no issues.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
There was one question. Yeah, sorry, sir. Yeah.
In fact, there is a that alcohol derived products. There are plenty of products which is being manufactured in our country, and each of these products are some of the products are the raw material for in pharma industry, and there is a huge market, global market, which is there for export, and people are eyeing on that, and parallelly alcohol is gaining importance in our country. Production of alcohol and derivative products, it is gaining importance, sir. Yeah.
There is one question in the chat box from Mr. Mariappan to Vijay Veeran, sir. Is that IS 23485 standard available free in the BIS website?
Yes, madam. It is available. Free copy can be downloaded from BIS website. Not only the 23485, all Indian standards are free to public. They have to just fill up their name, mobile number, email ID. They have to create a profile, then log in, and they can download any Indian standards free of cost.
Fair enough.
bis.gov.in. I'll put in the chat box.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So if there are no questions, maybe we can just...
Yeah, Remaji.
Sorry, please. Yes, Mr. Ashish Dev. Yes, please.
Yeah, my question is to Mr. Vijay Veeran, sir, okay? And I have asked that in the chat box and you explained to me. But, I would like to know, like, Vijay Veeran, sir, like from the BIS perspective, I know mostly the technical one, but is there any standard which incorporates the economic aspect of the sustainability also? Is there anything in the pipeline? Could you please explain that?
Dairy. You mean dairy means milk and milk-based product?
No. Remaji, can you please help me out?
Yeah, I will. Actually, he was asking that we do have the... Sir, am I audible? Sustainability standards. No, these are all the technical side we are discussing. So is there any particular standard which talks about the economic benefits of this sustainability part of it? So is there any particular standard which is capturing the economic benefits? Like we do have IFRS, accounting standards, international financial reporting standards and all, which they also have come out with sustainability standards, but they always look at the compliances in accounting and financial reporting perspective. In our standards, is there any standard which captures the economic benefits? Is what he is asking on the sustainability standards. Am I right, Mr. Dev?
Absolutely, ma'am. Thank you.
So is there any, so this is actually this is what we keep talking about, Mr. Dev. I will explain this. So any particular standard, if it is not there, let's dig out, let's find out.
Yes, ma'am. I have to check out any specific dedicated standard is there for this aspect. But as such, what we are talking about now, the focus is on the understanding the interdependence of one system on other system. Now there is a more need for a holistic view. I view personally in my 20 years of audit experience in various countries and various organizations of all sectors, I feel economic prosperity or profitability is a byproduct only. We focus on what we do best. Profits will automatically follow. So any specific dedicated standard for economic benefits, I will also dig out and search and inform. But based on the wisdom gained by interaction with various stakeholders for various states and countries and various authorities, and as well as consumer forums like meetings like this, that I understood. If you do, I always tell a lot of young entrepreneurs come and they ask which is more profitable, which industry is easy to start, which has more potential. I always ask them, you tell me one business which is not profitable. You tell, even now I ask, tell me one business which is not profitable. It is the way we do it. Whether the customers, they want to come back to us, whether they add us in their value chain, are we reliable, are we dependent, can we sustain our own operations, will we be available for them? All these, so many things, how we do, what we do, when we do, where, all that same fundamentals of ISO 9001, it is given very broad perspective if it is followed in letter and spirit. Because the licenses are like, they are viewing like an endpoint. I've got the license over. No, it is start of a journey. You have to travel with ISO. You have to travel with that PDCA cycle. Then economic benefits or prosperity or profit, it is just, it will automatically, it's bound to follow. This is what I've seen. I've seen directly people coming in small scooters, coming in Fortuner 50 lakh cars, and how they grow in front of our eyes. So many young entrepreneurs, how they, and we have seen kingdoms falling, how they fell, what are the reasons of them, inside story. So many things we come to know, because that is what we, if we do our activity plus profits, economic benefits, automatically it will fall. Right? There is a old Tirukural I am remembering. Aakam other vinay selum asevila ukam udiyan ude. Sorry, I know Tamil, so maybe there may be people from other languages. It says that some 7,000 old ancient Tamil literature says prosperity will ask for the address of the person who has unshakable faith and devoted to his actions. So I hope we understand now, how everything is interlinked.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah. We'll create, Mr. Ashish, actually it is long overdue. We are planning to rope in chartered accountants and the sustainability development teams, make both of them sit and then create conversation around it. What do they cover in their financial reporting? What is it that we cover in our reporting? Are there any gaps? Business has to look at it from a holistic perspective to get the benefit out of it. This conversation should happen. We will create conversations. Actually, it is long overdue. Even I've been thinking about it. We will plan for one, and all of us, let us understand, because customer wants to look at it in an integrated fashion, but the teams which are working here are both working in an isolated fashion. IFRS is totally different, and our sustainability standards, technical regulations and financial regulations are totally different. Let's try to create some conversations and understand. Thank you for that question. Let's do it. There is one question from Mr. Venkatraman Tyagarajan about sustainability standards are being developed by mining sectors, for mining sectors. Mr. Vijay Veeran, sir, is there any work confirming BIS program of work in the mining sector? And today morning, there was this thing about green mining, sir, NLC, Neyveli Lignite Corporation, that session, they were talking about green mining today morning. Yes. Any standards BIS is developing?
Yes, ma'am. There are a lot of standards available, and we will take the program of work of that particular sectional committee. As you know how standards are formed, there is a particular committees working under divisional councils and experts from all stakeholders, government, consumer representative, manufacturers, authorities. Everywhere there will be representation from all sectors connected with mining, and their program of work I will share with you.
Right. So any other questions, please? So no questions? So can we just wind up the session? Yeah. So thank you so much for your for the wonderful session we had today. We must thank the speakers for bringing different dimensions, and this is all rich knowledge sharing sessions. We never get an opportunity to bring all those experts on the same platform and to bring different dimensions. Thank you to Mr. Sengupta. Thank you to Mr. Vijay Veeran. Thank you to Ramkumar sir. And thank you to all the wonderful audience. And a special thanks to Mr. Anil Jawri sir, who has helped us to come out with a program, a topic, and then connecting us to the speakers also. And he's always our mentor, keeps guiding us to come out with conversations like this, which will be of immense use to all the stakeholders. We will continue to do regular engagements. Next month is November Quality Month. Yes, we will have a couple of sessions planned for next month also. We will keep writing to all of you, inviting you all. All this today's presentation will be shared with you, and the recording also will be shared. We've always seen many people register, almost 30-40% join, but the rest of them are all watching recorded videos which we are uploading, and we get feedback also. So thank you for joining us today, and it's an opportunity to stay connected with all of you. Let us keep celebrating this key important dates like World Standards Day, World Accreditation Day, Quality Months and Safety Months and all this. Try to inculcate, spread the message that good practices need to be followed, good implementation should happen. The end of the day, the communities should get that assurance on quality and safety. That is the ultimate goal and objective, whether it is a voluntary standard or a regulatory, the standard which has been mandated or regulated. Objective is the community's welfare and safety. That is what is critical in implementing all the standards. So thanks to all of you once again. Thanks to the GC members who've been supporting. Thanks to our backend team who's been of immense great support to organize all these things at a short notice. Thank you. Maybe we'll meet you all during the World Quality Month celebrations. We will launch a couple of initiatives. We will catch up with you all once again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you
for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Vijay Veeran sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. We must thank you.
We'll remain in touch, and thank you once again for organizing such a wonderful program. And you especially, again, I want to repeat that you're extremely good in bringing all stakeholders in one platform.
Connected worlds, right? We have to do it. Thank you, sir. Thanks for that.